Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar, and I am going to sing you a song while we're waiting. So we've got 2 minutes to go, and I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to sing a Maori song on my place of birth, New Zealand, while we're waiting. I'm in lockdown here in Melbourne, and you know, things are a little bit crazy, but there's always a beautiful Polynesian song to be heard. And this is called Pokare Kareana. While we're waiting, okay? So here we go. Pokare Kareana, no way oro turua, iti atu koine, marino anue, e hine, o ki maira, kamatea hoi, I te arohai, e hine, o ki maira, kamatea hoi, I te arohai. Thank you very much, and welcome to today's webinar. And the big question is, can Microsoft Teams really be your intranet? And you know, the only person really to ask this in my quarters is our Chief Product Officer, Mr. Simon Tyrrell. You know, he is my good friend, my colleague, also my chief heckler. And Simon, what do you think about this question? Can Microsoft Teams really be your intranet?
Hey Nick, thank you, and lovely introduction, mate. Yeah, look, it's a very, very topical question. Probably the most common question I'm being asked right now when speaking to customers is two parts. One, is the intranet dead? And second part to that is generally followed up with, oh, and can Teams replace it, or can Teams be my intranet? So hence, we think it's important to be having this discussion at a larger scale. So I think, Nick, it's what's key about this, and we'll be showing some stuff a little bit into the session, is to think about what is an intranet to start with. But I just wanted to start with a bit of a quote from internally that we like to share. And there's debate within the company who made this quote, but if you just want to flick through, Nick, it's about you know, how should you get people to use this stuff, whatever you call it, digital workplace, intranet, portal, etc. And this was a quote that was made in a meeting. And it's not about trying to get people to adopt your digital workplace / intranet / portal, you know, call it whatever it is referred to in your organization, but it should be about the digital workplace adopting the people. And if I think about my, geez, close to 20 years of working in this area, now I think about the projects where we've had massive change management and adoption projects to get people to go to the thing that we've just invested a lot of time, money, and effort building for them. And you've got to ask yourself in this modern age, why? Why are we doing that? Why can't we get what we're doing and try and get to people? And Nick, if you just go back one slide, it's interesting. We did a quick poll across LinkedIn in recent days, and really asking, you know, how are people's intranet going? And you know, it was a quick little poll, but over half, you know, referred to the poor thing as struggling. So if we think about, you know, we've had to try and get people to adopt these things. In many cases, in many organisations, they're still struggling. Maybe it is time for a sort of a bit of a rethink. And then we think about, well, what's happened in the world of work in you know, the last 8-9 months with this little thing called COVID. And Nick, if you just flick through, if you think about people's time, it's become incredibly siloed, and you're competing for attention now. And you know, it's split across different applications. People have moved, in every organisation and every industry have moved to a much more digital work style. So the good old days of, hey, the intranet's the digital thing they can go to and then they branch out from there, we believe is old and probably dead now, because things like Teams have just grown so dramatically fast. You know, well over 75 million monthly active users in Teams. It grew astronomically, the fastest growth of any business application in history. So if people are going to be in those types of tools, then maybe we need to think about how we leverage that to get to them. But let's think about how those tools are actually built. Sorry, if you look on the left-hand side of this little graphic here, you know, what applications like Teams are doing is work is now being done in apps optimized for collaboration, conversation, interaction between groups of people or individuals, whether it's chat, whether it's bringing together people in a team and working. But it's very much, you know, they could be large groups of people, but it very much is silo-based work. And they're built like that, and it's not just Teams. Slack is built like that, for example. It's the way work is done. However, on the right side of this graphic, that doesn't take away the need for us to be able to reach everybody in our organisation, regardless of where they are, what teams they're part of. And if you think about the type of information that falls into that category, you know, that is the head of corporate communications needs to get out important updates, news, information to everybody. They can't be thinking about, you know, oh, I need to target this or I need to target that. We've had some customers try things like a big all-of-company team. It becomes unwieldy very, very quickly. And some of the common sort of communications management capabilities and practices are not there to support that. You think about the HR people needing to get out and govern things like policies, procedures, all those types of information, risk alerts, risk assessments. That is still a very, very strong need. And of course, you then have things like learning, development, training, corporate events, all the stuff that intranets have classically been responsible for delivering has not disappeared because people are now working in these different tools. So the question for us is not whether Teams can be that right-hand side of that graphic, and not whether the right-hand side of the graphic should stop the left-hand side of the graphic being used, because you're not going to stop that, but rather, how do we bridge the two worlds together? And flipping the conversation into one of an opportunity. I think the thing that's happened with the way work is being done now and the way work will continue to be done now that, you know, digital disruption has been forced on everybody. I mean, we are seeing customers, for example, who have moved to fully digital work practices in tools like Teams in a matter of weeks. And, you know, they had a 3-year program of work, one of those customers, before COVID hit. And in a matter of weeks, they deployed this technology and they've got very, very strong adoption. So one of the things we've got now is we know where people are doing the work. Okay, so if we know that a lot of our people are sitting in Teams for meetings, we know that they're then going from meetings to work in, you know, project groups or small groups of people to get to work on stuff, get stuff done, then there's a very, very good opportunity to leverage that and not compete for their attention, but be where they are. And so, you know, it's not anymore about, is the intranet dead? It's not. But the concept of the intranet being a single web-based place that you need to drive your users to, like a conversion funnel, for it to be successful, we think is dead. And we need to go back to thinking about what is the intranet's purpose. And really, the way I think about it, the way I've thought about it for 20 odd years, is it's actually a set of services to deliver things to users, whether that be navigation, access to systems, tools, etc., whether that be governed content, control content such as policies, procedural type stuff, whether that be corporate communications, whether that be dashboards, BI tools, whatever. That's really what an intranet's been about. We just defaulted to thinking and using a web-based access point that became synonymous as the intranet. They will still exist, but we think the intranet needs to evolve to be something more and actually leverage the fact people are working in these tools, such as Teams, to be able to get to them and to make their work life easier, and then in return, get much better adoption and use of this thing called an intranet. So I'm going to hand over to Jason now. He's going to walk you through almost a day in the life of a LiveTiles customer and some of the capabilities available to them, where he'll show you how with some very simple solutions, you can not only be bridging this gap, but also really giving people a whole bunch of new capabilities, tools, and information within Teams so that they can get that work done even more efficiently. So over to you, Jason.
Thank you, Simon. I think Nick needs to make me a presenter. I might take control.
Yes, you are now the presenter. Thanks, Jane. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you, Nick. All right, let's see if this works. All right, Nick or Simon, could you just confirm that that is coming through?
All good, mate.
Perfect. Okay, so when we're talking top-down news from a corporate comms perspective, how do we effectively target everyone? And in Microsoft Teams, we have created full integration of our Reach application. You can see here, importantly, that we've pinned it to the side of the taskbar, and that is important for users from a navigation perspective, being able to quickly navigate and consume their news without having to dig through Teams, channels, chats, or at worst case, have another application to manage. And so you can see here instantly as an end user, I have a roll up in a dashboard type way of all the news that I have access to, channel based. So I can use the drop down in the top left corner to consume that news in a more specific way, in fine-grained in viewing the channels that I have access to. This news can fill up pretty quickly once we have a few hundred articles being published in there. And so for me personally, and many other LiveTiles users out there, it's a really easy, quick way to consume your information and your news that is being pushed down top down organization level while staying within the Teams application. So for me, it's conveniency, it's efficiency. I could be in a team, I could be chatting away. I could also be in a call now with the new feature of Teams being able to pop out that video. So for me, it's more efficiency, it's more time I can spend in Teams. And in terms of a UI, it's very clean, very easy to understand. I have all the normal functionality that you would expect as an end user to consume your news. I have the search functionality, I have filtering. I can also mark news as read. So, I'm ensuring that it's not stale news constantly being floated around that I've read, in previous weeks. I can also view the news directly from Reach in Teams as well. So clicking on an article will actually launch that article directly into Teams. Now I can consume that as typical news publishing routine applications would format that information. It is clear cut in an article type experience. We have the publisher, we have the channels that it's published to, banner imagery. Now this can also be video. We'll cover more of that when we go into the publishing routine as a creator. Social elements to the news are also enabled. So we can incorporate liking and commenting, so we can instill that collaboration feel on news and incite creativity. We can also share news externally. Now, as a global company, we often deal with non-English speaking, or English is not the primary language of some of our staff globally. And like many global companies in the world now, that we need to accommodate automatic language translation. So we'll see here that we have an article published to Reach in Danish. So it is not in English, but with LiveTiles Reach, we can actually instill automatic language translation based on the preference of the user. So myself, my preference to consume this information is in English. But this article has been written in Danish. So for me to read this information, I can basically, in a very easy way, click the drop down and translate that to English, and it will automatically translate that article. Now that will happen for any languages that are written into Reach. So if it's written in German, if it's written in Italian, whatever languages are enabled in the platform and are written into, the platform or the application itself will automatically translate that for you based on your preferred language or your first language. Now, we also have multiple variations too. So, we can incorporate more than one or more than two languages on an article. So, if there are multiple regions within your business, you can write that article in as many languages as you want, as long as it's supported by the platform. We support many languages. We can support that language translation for you. So, as an end user, what about notifications? Again, we don't want to enforce that outside notification, send it through an email, forth and back to the web application. If we're going to incorporate our news communication in Teams, we should also incorporate a functional notification system incorporated into Teams too. So we've actually tapped into the Teams activity. So whenever an article is published to a channel I'm subscribed to, or it is edited, or some sort of notification where an event is triggered that I need to be notified, it will show itself in the activity feed of Teams. So I can follow a running activity feed through the Reach application itself, the Teams application. I can also consume it through the activity feed down the side. So for me, if I'm in a chat again, or if I'm in a team, or I'm undertaking or consuming some sort of information from Teams, I'm not jumping out to email, clicking a link, launching the Reach application or whatever application it is, and jumping outside of Teams. The whole routine for me to consume that information and go about my daily business within Teams is fully supported. So that's covering off the main aspects of a general user, a general reader. What about a publisher or someone who is tasked with curating that content? So we've also built in a full publishing routine within the Teams application itself. You'll see here we have the red line. Anything under that red line has been published. There are no pending changes. There are no approvals waiting. So everything under that line is being published. As a creator, I can create the news directly through the interface. You'll see here it is formatted the same as a consumer would read that information with all the added configurations and functionality. We support titles, abstracts, the body. We can attach keywords. We can turn it into a poll. We can make it an alert. We can make it, that we require confirmation from those readers. So, analytics on the back end to suggest that this is information that you need to comply with, and you need to explicitly state that you have read and understood this information. Very simple UI, very clean, easy to understand. You'll see here that we begin with adding a banner or a video. We've recently just announced that we have now integration with Canva. So if you want to get creative and you're not a graphic designer, you don't use Photoshop, using Canva and the free license that comes with Canva is a very easy way to jazz up your news and make it more graphically appealing. So direct integration, we can start to just drag and drop and make our news more appealing and use that design directly into the news. So it shouldn't take too long to prepare. Now we've added that, we can go about adding the other configurations. So you'll see down the bottom, if we mark the article as ask for confirmation, it will actually turn the article into this green banner. So it won't show itself in card form like we showed in the dashboard before. It will actually pin itself to the top of everyone's newsfeed and ask for that read confirmation. On the flip side, if we mark it as an alert, it will do the same, but it will mark itself as a red banner and also pin itself to the top. So distinguishing the difference between a must read and an alert. We can set the duration of the news as well, so we're ensuring that it drops off and the alert is not sitting there for days or weeks when it's actually become redundant. Now, if we don't publish that and we actually just leave it in draft form, we should see now that it sits above the top line. So we have the full end-to-end publishing routine as you would expect in a comms platform. Any news publisher or anyone with elevated permissions who hits this page will see a list of the non-published and the pending approvals related to the news that's being pushed out. So that is the quick end-to-end covering on the news and the corporate comms and how we are addressing that at LiveTiles. So what about everything else? how do we bring the rest of the core components of an intranet, and how can we visualize those through Teams? Here we have LiveTiles Everywhere. Now, LiveTiles Everywhere at one point was a component of our Intranet enterprise platform. We've actually siloed that out now and made it a fully standalone application, again supported in Teams. Again, we've pinned it to the side taskbar, ensuring that easy access, that navigation is right there for users across their experiences to quickly consume that information. Now, instantly we see my landing page for Everywhere is a dashboard, a quick roll up of the core information that I need, my emails, my tasks, my recent documents, my calendar. Now, of course, we have calendar already supported in Teams, but when you add this to the picture of running this application outside into your intranet as well, it makes much more sense and a more coherent experience. What about a mega menu or some sort of navigational element? Typically, you would see it in mega menu form in your intranet, in SharePoint. How do we address that in Teams? We address that through the service menu. So different categories, different links, very easy to understand and to utilize. This is managed from the top down again, so administrators will determine what should our menu look like or our navigation elements look like in Teams. So we have broken it down by categories, and then we have those quick access links that the users can use again. So again, minimizing that jumping back and forth between SharePoint or whatever you're using for your intranet and Teams. If we can pull that core capability and that core functionality from SharePoint into Teams, we're reducing that back and forth for the users and creating a single pane of glass, that single experience for them to utilize. Managing profile. Again, there are ways to do this through the Microsoft ecosystem, but to really hone in and make it available in Teams where I get the full picture, wait 1 second while this loads, I can get a full snapshot of my profile. Now, separately, this is running from our LiveTiles directory service. So again, that has a complete standalone application, but the idea here is that we're bringing that more integration into Teams, more functionality, more consistent and experience for your users. So for me, again, I can quickly just jump in, I change my panel over, I flick across. If I need to complete my profile or make changes, I can do it directly within LiveTiles Everywhere. I'm not using another application again. Alerts, so very important, utilizing some more functionality from the LiveTiles stack, the notice board, being able to use integration points and webhooks to pull triggered events from external systems. So being able to have alerts, again, we could probably do it in certain different ways in chats and tabs, but here it's the one panel, the one experience that users can come to. Again, flicking across directory. So really important to have that search in a large organization, knowing who you work with, having up-to-date and correct information, full snapshot of functionality in terms of search, filtering, sorting, everything like that. So up-to-date and accurate data on your employees is crucial to provide that experience back to your users to be able to utilize that information. Policies and procedures, huge need for an intranet. The importance here, bringing it back into Teams. So we are not trying to take and lift and shift your intranet into Teams. We're simply taking those core components, those everyday uses, and bringing those into Teams to create that seamless experience. No one wants to manage multiple dedicated applications, and no one wants to have 20 tabs open to manage their day-to-day tasks. Again, use case here, we've got it directly in Teams. I could be in a chat, someone could have a question about a policy. I'm not flicking out to another system. I'm launching the Everywhere application on the sidebar. I'm pulling up that policy. I'm checking how many I need to read. I can search the full index. Again, great integration there. Last two I'll cover off, marketing and sales data. So being able to visualize Power BI, I could be in an exec meeting, I could be in any type of sales meeting where I need to quickly reference that information. I'm pulling open the Everywhere tab. I'm consuming the Power BI information, I have full use of the tabs, the filtering, everything like that. But again, clean, succinct UI. It's not ugly. It's very easy to use, very easy to manage. And the last one, least, some would argue that Yammer is dead. Microsoft have just updated the UI. I don't think it's dead. I think there's still a place for it. Again, I don't need to jump out to Yammer. You can use it in a way that suits your business, and having that quick, access in LiveTiles everywhere, being able to collaborate and integrate Yammer in a way that suits your business effectively in LiveTiles everywhere, I think it's a plus. Now, being in Teams, the last part is, Teams is also used in mobile. So do we support our applications on the mobile side of things as well? The answer is yes, and I'm hoping this works. Demo guides play nicely. Yes. Okay, so you'll see here, I'm casting my screen from my mobile. The applications work the exact same way in mobile as you would see in desktop. So I have my full roll up of news. Works for both end users, so a consumer, and also for a news curator. So everything I would expect to see in desktop, I can see in mobile, and the same goes for everywhere. My dashboards, all my applications, and my elements are functioning the same, and they're being shown the same as you would expect to see in desktop. So that is the very quick overview of our top-down news, corporate comms, LiveTiles reach, and our LiveTiles everywhere core functionality elements that you expect to see in your intranet, shown in a quick paneling experience in Microsoft Teams. Thank you. I'll pass it back over to Nick now.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Simon, for that brief. Now, I know we've got 5 minutes to go. We've got a ton of questions that I want to get through. So also, before we get into those questions, I just want to get you guys across the two features that Jason just demoed there. So around the price, let me just go through that very quickly now. So can you guys see my screen? Let me just make sure you guys can see that. I'm not sure you can at this stage, but LiveTiles everywhere, that was just demonstrated. For around 1,000 users, you're looking at about 93 cents per user per month. And for LiveTiles Reach, it is around $3.60 per user per month for 1,000 users and above. So you get those economies of scale as you go into those greater bandwidths of users. So sorry about, for some reason I can't share my screen, but I will send you all an email pack that will let you know who to reach to find out more information about that in the next 20-30 minutes. So but before that, I want to get to the questions that are being asked by the attendees, and I'm going to start. So Simon and Jason, we have some questions here that number one.
Nick, I'll jump on and just probably in the interest of time, just sum up some of the key themes. I've just been reading through them if you'd like. It's probably
yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Simon.
I've answered a few within the questions itself, guys, but there's a really good one here from Ushan around, is there a danger of teams becoming bloated and slowing things down if we add too many things? Look, I think that's a danger with any technology solution for digital engagement. However, what I think here is, I believe if you go the Teams way of integrating content and data and applications through things like tab apps, then that's absolutely a risk, because they become unwieldy very, very quickly. And I'm sure you've all experienced, the little drop down of tabs within a team or within a channel within a team, and just being overwhelmed with having to go to all these different things. So that's why we think our approach with LiveTiles Everywhere is so important, because not only is it one click away to all that stuff, and as you saw from the demo, it's quite a lot of stuff there, but then you can think about targeting, and it's no different to personalized, contextualized access to information that we've always thought of doing in intranets anyway. So we think that's a solution to that problem. James had a question around, is news publishing aligned with on the intranet itself from the same source? Yes, James, that absolutely can be done. We've got customers doing that. So you can think about incorporating whether it's SharePoint news publishing, doesn't have to be SharePoint, could be another solution. It's absolutely possible to integrate that and leverage Reach just as an engagement layer. It's also possible, we've got customers who are using Reach as the content source and driving that into their current intranet solution, and having a much more modern sort of communications experience. And we had some question around analytics. Yes, there are analytics around all those articles. Scheduling, publishing is all there as well. There's a really good question here about who typically owns Teams or is a custodian of it. That's a very, very good question, Christy. We are typically seeing IT being the custodians of deploying it, and then, to be honest, sort of going into a void. Now, that talks to an upcoming webinar we've got around governance and management of teams. It's a massive topic in its own right. We think it's just a bit of a time and a place at the moment where, because of the urgency of getting teams out, because of COVID work disruption, organisations are still trying to work out where it fits. But if you think about all the stuff we just showed, it's no different really to any collaboration portal intranet capability. And it really should sit, there's a technical side, but there's also an engagement side, and you should really think about those roles in an organisation, etc. Okay, there's a few other questions here. If you are linking LT with SharePoint and Teams, does it work using the same principles? Absolutely, yes. And one thing that we should point out, that LiveTiles Everywhere capability could also exist on your SharePoint intranet, so you can provide the same capability as well. Traditionally, when an enterprise user loads their browser, the intranet homepage is displayed. For LiveTiles customers, what are they implementing as the browser homepage? Lucas, that's still there. I question whether that works at all. I've always questioned that, to be honest. It's a personal philosophy on why do that. I think it's a way to try and drive adoption artificially, to be frank, but I do appreciate many large organisations do that. I guess the thing I'd frame is, well, if I'm now doing all my meetings, I'm in Teams, I'm collaborating Teams, I'm sharing documents in Teams, for example, am I ever going to go to that homepage, and all you're going to do is annoy me when I want to go and, you know, get the news on my lunch break type thing. So I think there is an opportunity to rethink that and think about what that landing page experience can become. But we're definitely seeing customers who are still having that, but it's not their sole approach to trying to deliver this stuff out to users. They're looking to get it into Teams, as we've just shown. And I think I think I've covered just about everything. Oh, there was a question about you can't see the Reach app in Teams yet. It is coming into the Teams App Store, but you can deploy it through the organisational catalogue today. So if you're interested in giving it a try, it's very easy to get in. You can use a trial subscription. You can be up and running very, very, very quickly. I think that's it. I think I've answered most questions there, Nick. If I haven't, please send me a chat and let me know.
I think there's just one question there that maybe you haven't answered, Simon, is any analytics to see how users read the content?
Yes, so I did mention, I answered that in the text, but yes, there's analytics per article. There's also overall analytics. It's done through the management side of Reach, but absolutely there's analytics. There's polling, so you can inject polls in, which also have their own data, obviously, as well. So yeah, a whole bunch of stuff on that front around the content side of Reach.
Great, thanks, Simon. Thanks everyone for joining today. I will follow you up with an email which will have a straight off, hot off the press ebook and white paper that will go into a little bit more detail about what we presented today, and also details, as you can see now on the screen, as to how you can purchase these fantastic add-ons. So thank you for joining again, and we'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much.